All right, guys, we are back answering your questions from the community tab. This one is from Kingdom Beats. He says, how do I navigate my path as a beginner or amateur without expensive gear like headphones and studio monitors? I currently produce with my GSP 350 gaming headset. So I'd recommend just getting a simple pair of Apple earphones just like this. They're about $15 to $16 on Amazon. And if I remember, I'll link it with my Amazon link. All right, so here is the simple pair. All you need is these. Most of the world listens to this stuff on headphones like this. You don't need monitors and all this in the very beginning. I think you can invest in headphones if you want. You can invest in monitors just to feel the beat, but you don't need that type of stuff for the most part nowadays because sound designers have they sound design in pristine environments so that you don't have to sound design in a pristine environment. All right, so that's my answer to that. Let's pull up some more questions here. Now, this is like a group of questions, but whoa, it's taking up the whole screen. Okay. All right, so the first question, I guess, is from Hit by Six. Says, do you struggle to balance creativity with technicalities in music? The answer is when you're learning, you will struggle with that because what happens as a beginner is when you learn things, you have to apply it. So I remember learning multi-band compression. And all I did was use multi-band compression on every single beat when I didn't have to. So you're going to struggle with the idea of constantly having to learn something, but try to also free yourself to be creative, which is random. But you have to do something that's constant over and over and over again. And for that reason, it struggles from creativity because creativity is perceived randomness, even though it's deeper than that. Whereas the technicality is more non-random. So that's what you're struggling with. And that's the short answer is when you learn, you just have to repeat something over time. Okay. And then you'll realize you're doing it too much and then you'll undo it. And then it's just a learning phase. So just understand that when you go into your studio or lab, okay, it's called the lab for a reason. You go in there to either experiment or you go in there to create a full song. There's only two outcomes. Either you're learning something or you're going to make something that's going to be printed to go somewhere else. So in that case, just stop putting your pressure on yourself. When you're in experimental mode, stop putting the pressure on yourself to always put out a product that has to be online, okay? Because sometimes you just need to learn how to apply multi-band compression and move to the next project. How do you say this? Ilioxenfree says, what's the best technique to fix phasing issues? Timing. Phasing is timing. Okay. So when people talk about phase issues, they're talking about two things are clashing because of timing. Phase is when you move something in phase, it's basically the smallest amount of time you could pretty much move something is a sample by sample. That's the smallest time. Then you have chunks like milliseconds. Then you have seconds. You can move stuff from each other. Then you have full on minutes. You can move stuff away from each other. It's all just time. And the same way in sound design, when you have the coarse pitch, the fine tune, and the whatever, think of phase as like the most small movement you can make between sounds, pretty much. I'm not sure exactly how it's measured in all plugins, but phase is probably measured in milliseconds. So when you move a sound over a millisecond, how does it change? Okay, so that's basically what phase is. So how do I fix phase issues? You're just micro nudging something to the right or pulling it to the left. That's all phase is. When people flip the phase 180, they're just moving it in a certain amount of time, okay, to the right. Okay, that's basically what it's doing. Okay, so it's a timing thing. It's a small delay. So Holosound says, show the importance of modulation on EQ for sweeping effects. Okay, so I rarely use this technique. This is like only for a very specific type of sound design. So let's grab a melody loop here from some Curtis King Pack. What is this from? The Shlump. All right, so we're at 88 BPM, for example. Now, this is a lo-fi type of beat loop, so let's drag it in. Let's hit Control L. Let's add an EQ here. Let's add a parametric EQ too. So when would we add a sweeping effect? Only when we're trying to manipulate the harmonics of a sound. So usually speaking, that's for filtering. We're going to change the shape to more of a filter, a low-pass filter. What you could do is, firstly, you want to right-click the mix level. So let's right-click here, create an automation clip. What we're going to do is, this is the on-off button. So let's see, this is 8 bars. Get rid of this. Let's duplicate this. So let's say we only want the filter effect in the beginning. we're going to grab this node, right click and turn it off. So it won't happen on the second half. Go back to the EQ. And now we get to tell this filter what to do. So I can either keep it set like this and just turn it on and off with the on off switch. Here it's off, here it's on. Okay. Or we could modulate, or automate is probably a better word, because modulation is usually meaning a continuous control over something. But anyway, we could right click and create an automation clip over the frequency of the low pass cutoff frequency. So basically I could have this start open, go down over time. So what it's doing is it's telling this frequency value to start up here and slowly go down based on of my curvature of the automation. So that's what we're telling it to do. And it will only do that during the area where it's turned on, okay? So as we listen, it'll become more chiseled. And we can visually see this too in the EQ. So now we're cutting out more harmonics. Okay, now we don't have to turn it all the way down. Let's turn it somewhere. It's more realistic. And then here, it's completely off because the off switch, the mix level, I should say, is completely off. So regardless of the movements I'm making in the EQ will still even show that it's moving, but it's not doing anything because the mix level is turned off. So we'll see the same curvature, but it's not doing anything. Let's add some kind of drum loop in here. What is this, 88? So we need to stretch this, double click. We're just throwing stuff together here. This is a Curtis King pack. Now we can, so notice we're filtering only the one sound. So let's say I wanted my drums to be filtered. And I would not recommend adding filters over the master track for many reasons, especially when it comes to mixing and you want to pass off to a mixing engineer. If your whole track is low passed, it's going to be very hard for them to do their job basically. So you want to make sure you're separating sounds and filtering only the sounds that need to be filtered. All right, so for example, we can run the drums. So now everything's being filtered. And then you can hear my voice clear because there's less harmonic content to compete with. And then now it comes, filters off. So now it's gonna be harder to hear me because now my voice is competing with all this harmonic content. So that's what a filter is for. And then you could even blend it in. Here's like a 50% mix level. So it's kind of like in the middle of on and off. There's many use cases for filter sweeping. I've really seen this in EDM more so than hip hop, but also too, the one main thing you want to understand is not just to slap it on the master. You want to group your sounds, if anything, or apply the filtering to individual sounds. If anything, group the filtered sounds. You don't want everything to be filtered all the time, because then, again, when it comes to mixing, it becomes a headache dealing with automations that the producer made. Quick answers to your quick questions. I want to thank you guys for asking those questions. I think we've answered them all. So thank you guys. This is Game for busyworksbeats.com. If you want to learn how to make beats like the pros, go to busyworksbeats.com/premium. Peace out, guys.